I'm sure if Walt could have seen how the technology has changed for an undo button versus all those glass panes for Snow White that they had to make, that he would have lost his
Oh,
mind.
he would have completely embraced it. He always embraced technology and always pushed it, even though when you get deeper into the business and you know more kind of experts and they say, well, he didn't do the first color cartoon and he didn't do the first full length and everything, but he did the ones that mattered. He did the ones that were important to people, and you can't poo-poo that.
No one makes magic in business like Disney. Join us as we hear from Disney cast members, influencers, and enthusiasts to uncover the secrets of what it takes behind the scenes to make Disney such a successful and well-loved brand. We will hear their journeys, inspirations, and have some good old-fashioned Disney fun along the way. So relax, pull up a chair, be our guest, and let's get down to Bippity Boppity Business.
Kirk, welcome to Bippity Boppity Business. I am so excited to bring on a storyteller, an artist, and a craftsman of creating wonder and work. I am just honored to have you here. I am a huge fan of, obviously, Disney, if you can't tell from the background, the castle that I have, but more importantly, of the just beauty of hand drawings and animation that is just an art that I've heard it being like acting, but on paper, the way that you're able to evoke emotion and story. So just thank you. Thank you so much for being on here today.
Oh, you're welcome. And as soon as that guy shows up, let me know.
No, it's you, buddy.
Storyteller. Oh, it's me. Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
Well, Kirk, I especially wanted to bring you on the show because this season of the podcast, I'm really exploring storytelling and teaching business leaders and business content creators how to find ways to kind of sneak in a little bit of those Disney magic ideas of storytelling into their work. And I'm also a huge Disney fan. So, of course, if we kind of squabble off and ramble about a film or two, like I'm absolutely all for it. I'm totally welcome.
Okay.
So if you're down, we can get right into it.
Sure.
So, Kirk, I did a little bit of back research on you, and from what I can see and what I understand about you, it seems like you were always somebody that really enjoyed drawing and cartoons. And I wanted to know, what was the first show that made you think, wow, like that is really cool. I kind of want to do that.
That's hard because it seems like there have always been cartoons that I've watched since I was a little kid, going back to the early 60s. I mean, that's all of the Bill and Joe stuff and the Jetsons and Beanie and Cecil and that sort of thing. And then the other things, for which I have found out since were actually older, like Crusader Rabbit is much older than that. It's almost 8 or 9 years older, and was Jay Ward, believe it or not. It wasn't, who's known for his Crazy Bullwinkle / George of the Jungle stuff.
George of the Jungle. That's so
cool.
Remember
George of the Jungle?
Yeah.
With all the great theme songs from George and Super Chicken and Tom Slick.
George of the Jungle. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. But I was really an HB kid, and I loved and my favorite show was Johnny Quest by far. But I loved all the superhero stuff. I loved all the funny stuff. I loved the funny animals. I loved the Jetsons. The Jetsons is probably the funniest thing they did for television. I think the Tom and Jerry's individually are just as brilliant. And I don't think there was any coincidence that they won something like 6 Oscars in a row for short subject, and they beat Walt out routinely all through the 40s,
What do you think it was? What do you think it was about those stories that made them so like unparalleled in the industry and so unique?
I think it's the characters first, and I think it's whether or not you like them or not, and so that goes to the matter of appeal. Appeal is very, very important. At least it was. Now it's kind of works in reverse. There's kind of a cringe factor in a lot of stuff, and a lot of modern comedy, like they call The Office like a cringe comedy. The almost everything every character says is something where you go, oh gosh, did they really say that? Oh, they're not
It's
going
almost
there.
like you want to
Yeah.
stop watching.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, that's too embarrassing. Yeah, that's cringe comedy, and that's a relatively later development, but we've had it on, with Adult Swim and things like that ever since. Story is just the art of creating. What is it? How did McKee say it? He says a conspiracy of interest. You're creating a conspiracy of interest. You want to know what's going to happen next. The old Howard Stern thing,
Yeah.
People who like him listen for 3 hours a day. Oh, that's interesting. Well, what about the people who don't like him? The people who don't like him listen for 4 hours a day. Really? Why? Most common answer, they want to see what he's going to say next. So I blew the joke because each one of those ends with, I want to know I want to see what he's going to say next.
Yes.
And that's kind of what it is. I mean, it's, you keep them guessing, and then you got to give them, and then part of it is delivering what people want, but you do it in a way that they don't expect. So that makes it fresh, and that makes it a continual banquet of surprises. And that's what I think, that's what people want in their stories.
Yeah, and I see that in some of the works that you've done, especially in Hercules. I feel like that movie was definitely giving people something that they wouldn't have expected from maybe a traditional Greek mythology story from zero to hero, right?
Well, yeah, and that's because it wasn't a typical mythology based thing. It was an American screwball comedy, a Preston Sturges comedy starring Barbara Stanwyck, and we looked at all kinds of things. We looked at all the Barbara Stanwyck comedies, like from Ball of Fire to the Lady Eve, just really funny stuff. And the Lady Eve, or Ball of Fire, is Capra. So we wanted to do a kind of, one of those 30s era screwball comedies, and I think they pulled it off. Oh,
pretty darn well. And then to add the music to keep you hooked and make it memorable. Like, I always wondered, in your opinion, what is it about adding in musical elements to story that make it stand out or important, or just what are your general thoughts on that strategy?
Well, they're usually devices to tell an internal monologue. I mean, the Want song, we were leading off with Want songs pretty much all through that period from Little Mermaid on. And it's really what's going on inside of her that she's singing it to Flounder, that first one, I want to be where the people are. And I don't think it's literal. I think it's just kind of a way of conveying what's going on inside of her. And Belle had it, and Aladdin has it. And even though we killed the first Aladdin song, it was a thing called Proud of Your Boy, and he was going to be singing it to his mother.
Whatever happened to that song? I've always wanted to know. I love that song.
Well, because it didn't fit when the new template was laid over the picture, and the mother had to go because the executives wanted more of a street rat, independent character, not, beholden to somebody else. He has to be completely on his own. That was kind of more of the personality that they wanted to make for him.
Okay.
So,
wow. Yeah. Insider scoop on that. I got to tell you, I'm Middle Eastern, and watching Aladdin growing up as a little Lebanese girl was probably the most exciting thing that could have ever happened to me, for people to be like, oh, like Jasmine. I'm like, really, but thank you. But I think what it
No,
is, it's like those internal monologues and those stories, they make you feel connected to that character because they're based on emotional principles, right?
well, yeah, and they're also based on empathy, which is understanding. I know what that feels like to be like that. Oh, I've been in situations like that. That is the number one thing that great writing and compelling writing, that's really the word, is compelling. It has to be something that you understand as a human being, and you have to, and the thing that they have found is that it's an inverse relationship where they talk about, well, you have to make it a broad thing that will appeal to everybody. It's like, no, the thing we have found is the broader you make it, the wider a net you think you're casting, the smaller the interest will be in people. But if you go very narrow and very focused and very dedicated to something and you know all about it, then you will have a wider interest from your audience. It's a weird thing, but it's absolutely true.
What I wanted to dig into further is like from your experience from the time of working on films, like you worked on Toy Story, Fantasia, Brave Little Toaster.
The
I
Toy
mean,
Story, Toy Story, Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2, we've
Yeah, I
discussed
didn't work
about
on the
Toy
first
Story
one.
2,
I
not the
wasn't lucky
original.
enough to do that.
Toy
Yeah.
Story
But
2.
they had to put the new movie up. They had to take the old story out of it. My friend Kenny talks about, when you have that train wreck screening and everybody's like, oh God, and they're just looking at the floor. It's like, oh, this is really bad. And the executives are wanting, it's like, you guys have got to whip this thing into shape. And Toy Story had like 6 weeks to, what Kenny says is to you jack the movie up, put it up on jacks, drop the old story out of it, put the new story in, and then you hope it takes. And boy, I'd say they did it, but they did it in 6 weeks.
That's
That's amazing.
crazy.
That's an amazing thing. But they had an amazing, amazing crew back in those early days at Pixar. And it's funny because when Disney finally bought Pixar, it was like, oh, Disney's absorbing another creative entity, another studio. I was like, well, Pixar came out of Disney. Come on, it's Disney culture that was up there.
Yes.
And every one of the principals there in the early days all came out of Disney's feature animation, and all the notes came from feature animation because Disney was distributing the Pixar product for the first 8 pictures or something. So they had to, kind of appease the sensibilities that were in Burbank. So,
And like, I guess I wonder, what are some of those you think culture qualities that made that crew work so well together where they were able to
oh,
just like get it done,
I don't really know. I know how driven like John Lasseter was at that time, and the head of story, Joe Ramp, who was a sweet guy and a guy I went to school with at CalArts. He's very focused, and so he can make progress very quickly. So I think it's mostly them, and I think the success on the thing was mostly due to them. But I don't want to slight anybody, but I don't know too many
Yeah.
other people who were there on that one production. I think I know maybe one other person who was involved with that crew.
Well, that's one more person than I know, Kirk. So that's pretty darn
Yeah.
cool. I mean, for you then personally, with all of your experience from all of these amazing works that you've helped and collaborate with, for you, what is that driver, that motivator that makes you want to keep doing this and finding the next big thing?
Sometimes there is a little thing where you like to entertain people. You also kind of like to amaze them, show off a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of ego in it to get a wow, that's great. If you get the attaboy and the jaw-dropping stuff, that's cool. So it's like what actors say. It's the applause from the galleries. So although I'm always thinking of stuff. I mean, There's not just, it's not just film. I've also done work at Disney, at WED, Imagineering, and that's always a fun kind of mental thing to jump through hoops with. It's like, what if, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we, and it's not, they're a little slower than they used to be and they're a little more knee jerk than they have been in the past. I mean, they used to look out 20 years in the future, let's 20-year master plan. What is going to be going on now? And for instance, Star Wars at the 2 parks here, that's a direct result to Universal putting Harry Potter in. So it's a knee jerk, it's a reaction, and it's not the best way to go.
Tell me, what is a creative process that you think is one that's really great that you are fond of or enjoy for yourself?
Exploring and saying what if and trying any number of things, whether it's a little problem of just business, if it's a micro thing, a tiny thing, a beat kind of thing, or getting a sequence to flow better, or getting an act to work better, or an entire picture of 3 acts or more. I love cards. I love taking the general nugget of a story, the kernel of it, the germ, and doing a beat outline with it. And
what is that? I don't know what that is.
A beat outline is where you take, you kind of create a little timeline of things you want to happen in a story. If you're writing an original story, or if you're adapting something and how Tom Sawyer goes. Okay, Tom and Huck go to the cemetery here, and then they see Indian Joe. So you plot those down on either a timeline on your computer, or if you're lucky, you have a storyboard. You can pin index cards up, and I work from a big controlling idea, and then I'll start with kind of the act, what I kind of want to accomplish in each act. And then I really like Robert McKee's story, the book, and the class. They sent me to the class probably 3 times. And it's been very helpful. And once you kind of identify kind of the things you definitely want to achieve, then you go through and you start to look for those devices, like the inciting incident, what kicks the thing off to get it going in the direction you want it to go. It's also the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about. And they're principles, they're not rules you have to follow, but they do help you identify the thing. And then he works with an idea called the controlling idea. And that's the big idea that is the umbrella over everything. And that's a formula broken into 2 parts. And the first one is the value. What's the value at stake here? Life, death, freedom, slavery, joy, despair, whatever those, and they usually have to be polar opposites. They have to be a positive and a negative. Usually that's the best way to go. And then you try and you determine what's the cause that makes the thing go from the negative to the positive, or something. That's called cause. So the formula is value plus cause. So it's very interesting, and it's a great little tool to use when you're looking at your story for the first time, and when you're just breaking the ground of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before, and I'm so excited that you just taught me that, because
look at the book, see if you can track down the book. I don't know where you're located, but it's called Story, and it's by Robert McKee.
Okay.
It's never very far away.
You got your tools right around you. You have your beautiful storyboard there and your books. I love it so much.
Is it gonna come out? Is it gonna come out in reverse?
Yeah. Oh no, I see it. I see it though. I see it the right way. I see it
in reverse. Robert McKee.
I see Robert
McKee. He's about to retire. He's been a kind of a script doctor kind of guy, consultant in Hollywood for 40 years or so. Anyway.
Wow. That's such a good recommendation, because
I'm
trying to learn how to better craft stories so that I can
Mhm.
create better podcast episodes. So,
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, structure is an important thing, and it can be applied to anything. So,
tell me about your I know this is hard because I know art is like very personal for every project that you worked on. But what was the
Mhm.
most moving project for you that like really made you feel like, I don't know, it impacted you in some sort of way?
Mm. Probably the one that we actually worked on, that I actually worked on, probably Aladdin's kind of turn at the end and the genie being freed and everything. I think that was a really emotional moment. I didn't really actually work on that sequence, but it really held the movie together and really took the movie to a, kind of bumped it up a notch. There was real emotion there. That was kind of that when they were starting to get real emotion into these movies again, you know, that was kind of what did it. I think that's why they had such a big renaissance in the '90s. So, um, like because for instance, Hercules is just kind of a romp for me. It's just kind
Mm.
of a again the screwball comedy. I mean, it had there were some dire moments, of course. You got to have some peril and some, and you have to put
What
things
about
teetering.
the Hunchback has some very deep themes or like music to it for me personally. I
Yeah.
really
Oh, sure, sure. Also, have you seen the Broadway version of the Hunchback with the
yes.
extra songs?
And I am
Yeah.
so excited that you brought it up because I bring it
Oh,
up all the time and not many people know about the Broadway
no,
version.
no. We somehow were connected. Our Friday night group was somehow aware. Well, a few people out of the group had gone out to see it. It was like a community theater production. They had gotten the book and in fact, I don't even know if Disney's actually done it on Broadway. They commissioned the show, but I don't think they've ever mounted it.
No,
So,
I think because Frozen was chosen over The Hunchback on Broadway, and that's when
oh,
my
okay.
heart broke because I was like, "Oh, that's
Well, well, then
soundtrack."
it'll line. It's like planes on the tarmac. They're just taxiing, and if it's not this time, it'll be the next one. So
Oh, true.
I
Well,
wouldn't I
that gives me
wouldn't
hope.
yeah I wouldn't worry about it.
So, from the projects that you've worked on, I mean, I am not in your industry. I don't really know 100% what a storyboard artist or what a really great storyboard artist does. And like, I just kind of want to know what you do and how you work with other people.
That's funny. Storyboarding is one of the loneliest jobs there is,
Oh,
mostly because you're by yourself all the time. And the only time that you're getting notes or you put it up for people to look. Nowadays, you just make a little movie and then send it to people, and then you wait to hear back and get the notes that way. But the way we did it on those big movies was a room full of people, and it's your crew, it's the rest of the storyboarding team. Everybody would assemble. The directors would want the entire storyboard crew in there to look, watch the sequence, watch it get pitched, and you literally stand there with a pointer stick and you're taking them through the drawing. It's the only way to do it, as far as I'm concerned. I have a hard time pitching digitally. I don't like doing it because I'm always having to push buttons to make it go through the board on a like Storyboard Pro, and it's not as satisfying and it's frustrating because it's just not what I like.
it's not
Anyway,
the same.
but that's when the crew comes in and the team comes in, and but that's a valuable thing, and you don't get that in television almost at all. There were a couple shows that did it, but for the most part, you just turn the assignment in and then you wait to hear notes from front. You'd sit down with your director, and the way they used to do it is you draw it out on paper or print the thing out on paper, and then he will have gone through with post-it notes and put some over some drawings and move lines around and that kind of thing. But I am not afraid to move a line or something, or delay it a little bit if I think it'll have more impact, or if a gag doesn't land, if I can sweeten the gag, make it funnier, that's usually something I'll try to do. That's called plussing the material. Yeah, that's the Walt Disney term. And the idea is that you always try to improve at whatever stage the production's in, you try to improve it as it goes along. When you get your hands on it, it needs to be better when it's left you.
I like that, plussing. It's like upgrading or leveling up.
Yeah. So my job is to make the board better than the script. So
to make the board better than the script. So does that mean to help convey the script further through imagery, or help
through choices, and they might not have quite described something that visually it plays better, and you can see it. Oh, I didn't understand that. Now I understand. Those kinds of moments that you look for. I always look for gags, though. I always look for, like, I was away from Disney for a little bit, and then I'd come back to a thing called Jake and the Neverland Pirates, which was on Disney Junior. And the first thing, it was a story where I was able to, we had ghosts in the story. I don't know why, but we did. And there's a moment where Hook and Smee and one of the other characters, there were three of them, and I arranged them like the hitchhiking ghosts in Haunted Mansion, doing that, exactly that. So it quotes that visually, and it's actually it's like that. And I got huge kudos. Everybody just thought it was the funniest thing ever. So you look for things like that.
It's almost, I would like to know a little bit more about that. Those like playful jabs at other stories that have been told within that IP. I feel like that's like almost, it's a very interesting way to bring in other elements of other stories. Like,
well, that's a quote. You're doing either a parody or a quote. And depending on how timeless you want to make the thing, like Robin Williams, Genie, he does a lot of topical humor, which probably doesn't stand the test of time nowadays, doing Arsenio Hall and things like that. But then it's like those Warner Brothers cartoons that go back to the war, and they when Vendel Vielke is mentioned, and Quisling is mentioned, and nobody knows who Quisling is or what a Quisling is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what a Quisling is.
Quisling was the Chancellor of Norway who gave up to the Nazis without a fight, and so the Nazis came into Norway. And so if you're a Benedict Arnold,
I feel like my history teacher at some point is going to listen to this and roll her eyes at me, because I definitely was not the kid that paid attention in that.
Well, nobody does. Nobody knows anything anymore. So people don't even like young people, the present company excluded, of course, but they don't even like black and white movies. And it's like, okay. So,
but I do find history interesting when I get to hear it and experience it or share it with somebody else. If I just read it in a book, then I'm just like, I don't know.
No, it's got to come alive. That's why I think it's great story fodder. It's excellent story fodder. So the things where it comes alive and it's dramatized. Well, see, I think Hamilton's the best thing I've seen in the last 5-8 years.
Yeah.
And my Disney friends are all like, we don't like rap. We don't want to hear it. It's like, you guys don't get it. You're not understanding what it is. So,
I'm a Disney person, and I loved Hamilton. I thought, as a former theater kid, I was like, this is genius. It's entertaining and inspiring all at the same time.
Yeah. And I was aware of it, but the person who flipped over it was my daughter. And she said, Dad, you've got to see this. And it's like, I saw a thing on 60 Minutes about this. Yeah, it sounds fun, although it was initially like I was reticent about, but
now you love it.
Yeah, it's great. And whenever I hear it or I see a snippet or something, I'll just sit and I'll stop and I'll watch it.
What do you think it is about Lin-Manuel's way of telling story that makes that kind of work just so immersive? Because that's another thing about just Disney storytelling or just great storytelling in general is that immersive quality. So I'd love to hear your thoughts or ideas on that.
What? Yeah, it's that, and it's also got appeal through. Well, he uses the musical theater. He uses music to do that, and if the song's catchy or it's not, it's that easy. It's just like how do you tell what's a good comedy? They laugh or they don't. So I don't know about it being immersive as much as it just being kind of captivating. Just like you kind of fall under the spell of it, and it's like, ooh, this is, you're just tapping your toes and bobbing your head at it, and pretty soon, 2 hours have gone by.
Yeah.
And he goes through, and it's funny because that show goes through real street stuff. It's got real street kind of rhythms to it and language and all sort of thing. But then there's really tender, soft moments too. And I cry at the end when she's telling his story and at the end of what she ended up doing, founding the first orphanage in New York and all.
Yeah.
Oh, I get choked up now thinking about it.
I just got goosebumps when you talked about it. And that's because you're right. It is captivating. And
you remember how you felt when you first heard that.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me, Kirk, about just, I don't know, like I'm captivated by your world of creation and media, like what you get to do every day, just being an outsider looking in on it.
Well, yeah, sometimes it feels like digging ditches, though.
Well, that's what I want to know about
too.
is like, how do
Yeah.
you dig through those ditches? Because creating is hard at the same time. Like, how do you work
Sure.
through those blocks and potential burnout and still get the story forward and find your way through it?
Well, that's the thing, and I'm nobody to talk about this because I'm not very disciplined, but it is discipline, and it is make a little progress every day. And some days you'll have the schedulers don't like it very much, but sometimes you'll have those days where you just don't make any progress at all. It's like, you just want to throw the whole thing out. But it's not an exact science. So it can be tough. So you just hope by the end of the week, you just hope you have more wins than losses. Hope you went 3-2, and
I
picked
feel
up a
like,
couple games.
oh yeah. Do you play or do anything like on the side to help you like kind of calm down or detach a little bit sometimes?
Well, I like to decompress at home when
Yeah.
I'm done. Although right now I'm animating a little thing for a friend of mine who's a unique storyteller in his own right, and he's a Halloween. Used to do this great Halloween experience, a seasonal thing that he would host at his home in Sherman Oaks. And over the course of the weeks that they would be open, they'd have like 5,000 people come see this thing. It was called Boney Island. And it was just a silly skeleton party. He found the thing that he could duplicate all through the show, and it was those plastic skeletons that you get at the TG&Y or the 99-cent store. And he would stage them in certain gags that you instantly, you get them right away, and you get what they're doing, and they're all playful and they're all fun. And that was fun. That was years, probably did that 10, 15 years. And then the last one we did was in Griffith Park here in Los Angeles, we did it at the LA Light Steamers Club, which is a private club for people who have railroading in their blood, and they have model trains. Walt was a member of this way back when, and they have, miniature trains that you can actually sit and ride on and stuff. And so they are part of this club, and then they give rides on Sunday. They're open. And with the overwhelming crowds that Rick was getting at home, somebody offered, they said, why don't you come do it at LA Live Steamers? Because they would do a Halloween event. They did it they did it 2 out of every 3 years or something like that. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun. That was a huge success.
But then there was so fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah, you should look up Boney Island. but then there was a new board that was elected for the LA Life Steamers, and they just want to play with their trains. They don't want to do anything else like that. So after a while, Rick, being that he's constantly kind of a whirling dervish and he can't sit still, and he has a whole new concept that we're working on, and it's kind of an idea of a kind of a fantastic place that would be a pop-up kind of venue. You could have it in different cities, and you could have multiple versions of it, you know, like a road show. And we could have it in San Diego and in Long Beach and in San Luis Obispo. However, that depends on how many editions of the thing are created. And right now we have a little gag where I'm animating little characters. Well, I could probably show you. Hold on a minute.
Well, yeah, show me while we're here if you can. Let me see if I can let you do it.
What's that? Share screen? Is that what that is? Yeah, share screen. We can do that. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Did it come up?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So this is Storyboard Pro. So it's a storyboarding, but as you can see, you can do animation with it too, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to make the film.
Oh my gosh.
In Storyboard Pro, and it's a little, let's see if I can show it. The gag is, see, there it is. This is a box we have on the wall, like a little chest and there's one of our guys holding it up. And so if you can read that thing, it's a little box that sits on a shelf. And so we're going to have these little devil characters kind of coming out of it.
Yes.
So here's like,
oh my gosh,
he pops out and he falls off. Wow. And then this other one comes up and he runs off and
that's so good.
Like that. So there's going to be about 7 or 8 individual ones, and then I'll just layer them one over the other. So there'll be like 3 or 4 going all at the same time. So it'll just be a projection gag.
How long does it take for you to make a sequence like this?
It varies. I've had the hardest time, mostly because of inertia, just like getting back to the board because after you work all day and you come home but we just got through the holidays. I had a situation where I had broken my wrist walking the dog.
Oh no.
And so I had to kind of rest a little bit, and that was back in the summertime. So this thing has taken longer than it needs to be, but suddenly about a couple of days ago, I finally was like, you know what, I can get into this. I can get back into this.
I love voices and doing voiceover. I made a little demo reel for myself. So if you ever need like a young female or fairy like voice, just hit me up, Kirk. People tell me I sound like one, and so I was like, you know what, I might as well try to figure it out.
So how do you think that plays with my daughter, who's also in the business and hopefully breaking? I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm going to show you a little bit right now. Well, let's see. I have to. There it is. Okay, I have to move the whole thing. Let's see if I got it. Nope, didn't get it. Hold on. Just one more. Let me just try one more thing here.
Take your time.
All right. Yeah, all those guys that want to just move them just a hair. So I was able to grab each one in the frame. So now they're a little. And so the next one, once I see that, I'm working on that in between right now, right there, and then there's the extreme. which is slowing into, because he's slowing into it and then he's dropping off things.
Drops.
So it's fun to do this. This is different from what I do, but since I do traditional storyboard, I solve drawing problems all day, which is kind of the old classic way of doing things.
Yeah. I think it's so cool to see it happen in real time because
it's fun. It's fun because you can run it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and which is the equivalent of, you've probably seen animators working, and when they're working traditionally, you flip.
you
flip
flip the pages.
So the good ones can do 5 or 6 pages, so you can see the action, and then you put a little in and flip it and see if it, and that's how you know if it works. Here you just run and go back and forth. And it's like, is that working? You have the same flexibility. It's essentially the same kind of technique.
What's different now from when you went to school to do this, like the industry and the technique and all of that?
In that, well, you don't need a studio to do things. It's the same for musicians, and they don't need a record label. It's that you can self-publish is the biggest change. And of course, even with that, and it's the digital stuff, I would never go back to traditional. I would never go back to drawing on paper. It's not forgiving enough. And you end up with a lot of crumpled drawings all around your desk. And sometimes in your cup of coffee. It's the digital thing, and the fact that it has a take back button, or you can undo things. That's really I think that's the way to go.
That's so interesting.
The digital erasers. Yeah.
I'm sure if Walt could have seen how the technology has changed for an undo button versus all those glass panes for Snow White that they had to make, that he would have lost his mind.
He would have completely embraced it. He always embraced technology and always pushed it, and even though the things like, that when you get deeper into the business and you know more kind of experts, and they say, well, he didn't do the first color cartoon and he didn't do the first full length and everything, but he did the ones that mattered. He did the ones that were important to people, and you can't poo-poo that. There's a reason that Gulliver is forgotten for the most part, but Snow White and Pinocchio, they're remaking it. They just remade it, and now they're remaking Snow White, and that's a whole other kettle of fish.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, they're completely, when they're doing that kind of stuff, they're completely bereft of creativity, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that it must be
and
hard.
Then they'll do an animated version of their live action version of their animated version.
It's like, stop it.
Yeah, enough. So,
what's a project that you think people should be looking forward to or working on? Like, what kind of story? Because there's always the thing that people say, oh, every story's been told, but probably not.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I don't know. You mean like coming up, or something that I'd like to? I don't know. I have my personal favorites. I have things kind of in my back pocket that I don't want to mention because the book hasn't been acquired yet. But there are a couple things like that. A couple things I want to adapt. This is just me personally. As far as the industry, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's coming up. I don't know what everybody's doing. And of course, there's more opportunities now than ever, because there are so many more avenues to that are voracious media. They used to say television is a voracious medium. Well, streaming's even 100 times worse.
Yeah,
and it needs content, and so there's all of that. So,
and then, like you mentioned earlier, there is that. The plus side of it is people like me who would never be able to meet cool people or create, being able to do that on our own. And, there's a couple ways people go about it. They're just kind of themselves online. And then other people try to like maybe make themselves into a character or help somebody else like develop a character and share it online. So I guess I'm curious to know, in your opinion, like, what makes a great character, or like what's really just wonderful character development too as well. I'm just curious.
Well, I think what makes a great character is a character we haven't seen before, and it's not riddled with cliches. Cliches are the enemy and need to be shot between the eyes from at close range. No, cliches are bad, and that's when you see them, you know them, and your interest goes down. I think it's like, oh, seen it, seen this. So I think there's that, and then I think so. The opposite of cliche is freshness and something originality, and yet at the same time, there's got to be some kind of quality that again creates that empathy, that understanding. It's like, this is a totally new character, and yet I get them. And yet at the same time, there's also fun to have kind of enigma characters where you have to peel them like an onion, right? There are lots of little layers, and you have to find out, and then they're revealed to you in the course of the story. That's a great technique too. There's that conspiracy of interest again. Is that I want to know more.
I want more. It's like that thing.
What's that one? What's that?
That's from Part of Your World, where she sings like, I want more. She sings that in the song. Yeah.
I want the whole thing. I was thinking of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yes. That's also a good
one. I want more.
Well, okay.
Veruca. That was Veruca's salt.
Oh, yeah. And what
else? Wasn't that Veruca?
Yes.
She was a spoiled girl, right?
Yeah, like the one that turned into the blueberry one.
She's the gum chewer. That's
the gum chewer.
Yeah. Beauregard? Something Beauregard? Violet Beauregard?
Violet.
So she turns into a blueberry.
Yeah, that's Violet. That's awesome.
Veruca was the spoiled one. Daddy, I want this now. I want it my way. She has her song.
Yes, exactly. Well, Kirk, we'll switch it up. Go ahead.
That is a pink castle behind you. Isn't it?
Yeah. That's at Walt Disney World.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it when it was kind of white and blue.
Me too. I wasn't really sure of the pink, to be honest.
And I don't like all the ribbony stuff. And I don't like the gold very much, I think. And we have the same problem with Disneyland. It still has gold stone on it. It's like, gold stone? Really?
You're like, what castle has a gold stone?
Yeah. And it looks like Pepto-Bismol. It's Pepto-Bismol pink, and it's too busy. Why use one color when 8 will do? Anyway.
That's awesome. Approach. No, but like that's something you don't like, but we can switch it up and do a little rapid fire about just random Disney things that you do like. So I don't know how often you've been to the parks. I'm assuming you've been, just a guess. Just a
we were just
a
there.
Long shot.
We were just there Friday riding Splash Mountain because the Smart Money was saying it was going to close this weekend. Turns out that was Walt Disney World, but we rode it with the creator of the attraction, with the guy who pitched it and developed it and got it built. That's Tony Baxter.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we had a little group get together and we all rode it. And I got through unscathed the first time, but the second time they made me sit right in the front. And my new rain jacket, my rainproof jacket, was no match for the water getting under the jacket and onto my shoes and onto my pants.
Did you see that people were selling the water on eBay?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Who even knows if it's the water? I wouldn't want the water.
Oh,
it'd be disgusting. Look.
I want the rabbit. I want a little rabbit. I want
Which
something
one?
From the ride. I want the one.
You want a figure or?
Yeah, like the figure from a ride. I would rather get a figure from the ride than the water.
I think the logs. Didn't the logs have a Brer Rabbit head on them? I think didn't they have a little kind of a?
I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah. I think Disneyland did. I'm more familiar with Disneyland.
What's your favorite thing to do at the parks?
Oh, Haunted Mansion.
Really?
Oh, it's my favorite thing. Yeah. But then followed by lunch we love Cafe Orleans. That's a lot of fun. And just not being in such a hurry where you have to hit everything and make sure you get your, because nowadays, because I don't have my Silver Pass anymore, so I don't have I don't have that access that we could just go and drop in and have dinner and see fireworks. That's kind of a thing. Hopefully that'll come back if they can manage the crowd, but it sure takes away the spontaneity and that the guests are engaged more with their phones than they are with the park is kind of a shame. And again, I think I mentioned spontaneity. It's like when everything has to be kind of planned out 6 months in advance. It's just like, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's as good. But as long as there is a main street train station and a train pulls in first thing in the morning and there's a castle at the end of that street, I'll be happy. I'm fine with it.
I'm also fine with it. And I also have a quick question for you. I have a small side quest that I'm embarking on with my podcast. And it's I eventually one day want to see, not stay in because I know it's not possible, but see the Cinderella suite at Walt Disney World. Do you know if that's possible? Do you know that, can you get me in? Do you know people?
How well, being that it's Florida, it's really out of my range.
Oh, bummer.
How do they use it now? Is it a hotel room or how do you get to
it's not
go in
actually, it's almost impossible to go in now. Like there's no way to buy it. You can't pay to go in the room. It used to be
you have to be awarded it, right? You have to
Yes.
somehow win it or be
Yes.
awarded or something.
Or
I think that's what they're doing here too. They do that with the suite that's above Pirates in New Orleans Square. That was the old Disney Gallery. So, and it was originally planned as they were going to have a second apartment in the park, much bigger than the one above the firehouse on Main Street. And of course, he died before they could finish it. But,
I've never seen that. I do want to see that. I've never been to Disneyland, and I would love
never
to
been
go
to Disneyland. It's the best one. It's the best park. Absolutely. Everybody says Tokyo Disney Sea now. All the smart guys all say, "Oh, well, it's Tokyo Disney Sea now," and I just no. Walt never saw it. Walt didn't approve anything. He walked this one and was alive for 11 of its years. And so that's good for me. That's good enough for me.
I think that's good enough for me too, Kirk.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to make a pilgrimage out here because it's definitely worth it.
Well, if you'll be my tour guide, maybe we can make that happen. Sure. Kirk, is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you don't often get asked that you wish you would have been able to talk about?
Oh, that I hope to get asked? Yeah. I'm stumped on that one. Who's your favorite movie comedian? I don't know. We already talked about Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and that's not too. You'd also watch Disney, of course, and you'd hope for a cartoon, but probably one show out of 12 would have a cartoon in it,
Right. Some
were done directly, or especially for the old television show. This is the old Wonderful World of Color. I don't know. What would you like now that you've signed the contract? What would you like to put into Disneyland? Right? That's what I would like to be asked. What are your plans for New Tomorrowland? What are they? You know, that kind of thing. And then I hold court for 3 hours, and then I pull back the curtains, and I have all the models and the drawings.
Well, give me one of your ideas.
Oh no, I shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't. Okay. Well, if you
sure,
made Kirk,
why not?
If you made Kirkland, if you made Kirkland,
no such thing.
Okay.
It's funny. I did have my old partner at Disneyland. He had a little park idea that he was trying to get going in North Carolina, and it was Bobland for a long time, just Bobland. And he does the sweet stuff. He does the carousels and the ice cream parlors and that kind of stuff. So he was totally at odds with all the cutting edge guys, which is what Imagineering is mostly made of. You know, everybody who's the hottest, newest thing. I think Tomorrowland should be a haven for futurists. I think real futurists should be featured. And of course, the greatest futurist in the 20th century was Walt Disney. So I some kind of presentation where futurists are presented, a futurist club, if you will.
Yeah.
And that could include, Ray Bradbury, and it could include Steve Jobs, and it could,
Yeah.
because there's practical and then there's theoretical,
Mm-hmm.
which is Bradbury and Isaac Asimov, and who's the woman who cracked DNA? Oh, what's her name? Anyway, I would kind of focus on them, and then part of that, the physical shape that thing would take would be the lower levels of this thing, and then above it would be the Epcot hotel that is going to be at the center of the city in Florida, which I'm sure you've seen that painting of the radial city, and there's this gleaming tower that's like that would be the icon. That would be at the end of and I'd make it a real hotel. But with the experience being, what would it have been like to be able to stay at Walt Disney's Epcot? But with today's technology, and yes, and tomorrow's technology as well.
Yeah,
so
I think Tomorrowland needs that futuristic upgrade for sure, because it's not so Tomorrowlandy right now.
Well, it's always the problem, and that's why they say, well, let's time lock it, so we don't ever have to move it forward again. And it's like, if people aren't interested, then, and you're also saying Walt Disney was wrong, because he wanted to do a thing that would be constantly changing and embracing the future. So I think that's a worthy thing. I think that's a worthy thing to aspire to. So
there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day.
And it's funny because hotel would be right over where that show was.
Yes.
In fact, where that model was, there was a model of Progress City at the end of the Carousel of Progress in Disneyland. It didn't make it to Florida, except they cut it up in pieces, and you can see it aboard the People Mover. There's some windows that you go by, and the hotel and that center spire. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, no, but now I didn't know it was ever cut up. I need to go to the OG. I need to go to the original Disneyland now.
Well, it's gone from Disneyland. That was in the Carousel Theater. That was upstairs, and it replaced the Sky Dome Spectacular, which was the New York World's Fair. And Walt was more interested in the city of the future. He was planning for Florida anyway, which is why he bought all the land he did in Florida. That's why it's so big. He was planning a city.
Planning a city. Yeah, I think people forget that. They just think the films, but I think he was truly a visionary far beyond his time.
He got bored with film. Yeah. He certainly got bored with animation, because he was going off onto new frontiers, new things to try. He was interested in three-dimensional, animation in the round. That was his next major thing.
Are you ever gonna do some off the cuff things yourself too, like Walt did? Do you think maybe venturing off into something different or big?
Well, I want to be in a position where my ideas can be utilized, and it means I don't work in a vacuum. It means I work with other people, and I work in a situation where there's a need, and so I'm fulfilling a need, and I'm doing it in a way that they hadn't anticipated or expected. So the accolades will be fast and freely flowing. And now, no, but you got to go where you're appreciated and where you're valued, and where you can make a contribution. That's the thing, is making a contribution. That's where the real sense of value comes from, I think.
Well, I appreciate and value this conversation a lot.
I
truly do. I really do, because I think it's really cool to see kind of your framework, your ideas for creating, and just little bits of sprinkling in some of your stories from your industry. I kind of want to be friends with your friend group. It sounds like you have cool people that you're friends with. A little jealous, no problem. You're like, just the creators, Splash Mountain, no big deal.
Our Friday night group. Yeah, we have dinner, and we got into it during the pandemic. And it was when Orange County was not shut down like the way LA County was, so you could still go out to dinner. And so we were invited to join the group, and it was like, oh, this is fun. So we did it for all that period, and a weekly thing. And if you think getting to Orange County on a Friday night is easy, oh brother,
It must be worth it then
But we
if you're
do.
doing.
We have a whole bunch of local places that we like to go to, and then it's followed by a movie. It's movie at the home theater, and usually something that nobody's seen before, and it's just off the presses, or it just arrived in the mail or something. So that's kind of fun. And we're seeing the Oscar screeners, and we saw the Fablemans a couple weeks ago. Things like that.
Cool. Love
Yeah.
that a lot.
Yeah,
If
it is
they
fun. It's a nice social. It's a nice social construct.
Yeah. And if you ever need a little moderator or, like
Yeah.
a side person that's like, how's everyone doing today? That slowly weasels my into a viewing at some point,
Wriggling in,
just up to Bippity Boppity, no good business. Don't mind me.
Bippity Boppity Business. How did you hit on the happy name for your podcast?
You've been listening to Bippity Boppity Business. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple or listen to us anywhere you prefer listening to your podcast. Until next time, have a magical day.